The rain tapped softly against the window. In a small dimly lit room, Meher sat on an old wooden chair, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes lost in the sound of the raindrops. She was in her late 40s now, her face lined not with age alone, but with years of silent battles. Yet, even in her tired eyes, there was a strange softness. The softness of a woman who had lived a life of sacrifice. Meher was not always like this. As a little girl, she had a heart full of dreams. She would sit by the river near her village, writing little notes on pieces of paper, and sending them afloat, as if the water would carry her wishes to the sky. She dreamt of love. The kind she saw in movies, where men would fight the whole world for their beloved, where a woman's tears were precious jewels, and where happiness lasted forever. Her mother used to braid her hair in the evenings, and Meher would ask, "Ammi, will I have a love story like in the films?" Her mother would smile faintly. "Life is not a film, Beti. Life is heavier, but if you carry love in your heart, even the heaviness becomes easier." Those words never left her. At 19, Meher's marriage was arranged with Farhan, a man who at first seemed kind, ambitious, and hopeful. On their wedding day, she wore a simple red dress, her eyes glowing with the belief that her love story had finally begun. The first months of marriage felt magical. Farhan would write her little notes, bring her bangles from the market, and sometimes just hold her hand when they walked home at night. Meher thought, "This is the forever I prayed for." But forever, she soon learned, was not always made of flowers. Farhan lost his job after a year. He tried, but failure followed him again and again. Slowly, his warmth turned into frustration. The man who once brought her bangles now brought silence. The one who once held her hand now pushed it away. Meher stayed patient. She stitched clothes for neighbors, gave tuition to children, and quietly earned enough to keep food on the table. Yet, she never told Farhan. She let him believe he was the provider, the man of the house. But when she lay awake at night, her pillow soaked in tears, she whispered to herself, "This is love. Love means staying even when it hurts. Love means giving without expecting." A woman's silent battle. Years rolled by. Farhan's anger grew sharper, his words harsher. Yet, every morning, Meher prepared his tea, ironed his shirt, and smiled as if nothing was broken. She became invisible, like air, always there but never noticed. She sacrificed her youth, her desires, her own dreams, so that her family could stand tall. Her neighbors would sometimes say, "Meher, why don't you speak up? Why don't you demand your share of happiness?" And she would simply reply, "Because I am a woman. My happiness is in keeping the house warm, even if my own heart grows cold." One night, when she thought everyone was asleep, she cried silently. But her little daughter, Ayesha, walked in and saw her. "Mama, why are you crying?" the child asked, her innocent eyes wide. Meher quickly wiped her tears, and pulled her daughter close. With a trembling smile, she whispered, "Because sometimes, Beta, love means giving away your smile, so that others can keep theirs." That night, her daughter understood something no child should have to. The depth of a mother's sacrifice. Years later, Farhan eventually found success, his business grew, and he became a respected man in society. People admired him, but no one knew the truth, that his empire was built on Meher's silent sacrifices. Whenever he gave speeches, he spoke of his hard work, but never mentioned her name. Meher stood quietly in the shadows, clapping with the crowd, her tears hidden behind a practiced smile. Time, however, has a way of teaching lessons. Meher's body began to weaken from years of exhaustion. She fell ill, and suddenly, the woman who had been invisible became impossible to ignore. Farhan sat beside her hospital bed, holding her fragile hand. For the first time in years, his eyes filled with tears. "Meher, you gave me everything. I gave you nothing but pain. Nothing but tears." With faint breath, Meher replied softly, "Those tears were never wasted, Farhan. They watered the seeds of your dreams." Farhan broke down that night, realizing too late the price she had paid. The legacy after Meher's passing. Her daughter Ayesha carried her memory. She would write in her diary, "My mother was the strongest woman I ever knew. She taught me that love is not always about receiving. Sometimes, it is about giving so much that even your tears become prayers for others." Her life was love in exchange for tears. And through her daughter, Meher's story lived on, as a reminder to every woman who listens, that her sacrifices are not weakness, but the purest form of strength. Late at night when emotions are strongest, on rainy evenings when memories feel heavier, for women who feel unseen in their sacrifices, for daughters who want to understand their mother's silent strength, for men who need to realize the unspoken love of women in their lives.